So that pretty much covers flee. You've got the idea that flee now, well, a couple more things about flee. So, a child, we're looking at this from adult perspectives. Children have their free will is often very limited, right? So as an adult, when your free will expands, you become responsible for that. And when I say responsible, I mean responsible to yourself, responsible to the world for your choices, responsible to others that you affect. When you're a child, your free will is um, it's very tight. So you've got a family, and your survival skills are based on your caregivers and how they respond to you, and how you can meet their needs or what their expectations are. So if their expectations and meeting their needs mean to disappear and hide in the basement and play video games, that's your survival skill. When you become an adult, is that the right thing to do when you have your own children? Absolutely not. That's not the right thing to do. Now it's affecting your soul. Okay, so that means you need to make different choices no matter how hard it is for you. So let's say you are an adult and your tendency is to want to go hide in the basement and play video games still. If you choose that, and then one day you think, well, I really should, clean the garage, and you're actually like, the emotions start to come up, and the fears and the things that start to surface that give you clues to you, like how the survival skill developed as a child. Like when I make noise, dad hears me and comes after me, right? Or mom gets more agitated, or whatever it is. So when you are an adult, you're dealing with all the things that set those survival skills into place. And the confrontation, the number one confrontation, is actually your emotions. And if you're not willing to feel those emotions, you won't be able to move very far. So it'll be a struggle, and you'll still experience the danger as if it is true. So if the dinner table times were very, let's say you're a child, and dinner table times weren't very fun because mom was agitated because dad came home and he's been drinking again, and that's when the fights break out. And then dinner table time is basically a bad time of the day. And so you have this injury, this childhood injury, where you want to so you're an adult now, so now you don't have to succumb, you don't have to sit there and take it anymore. You've moved up a couple notches, but you're still avoiding dinner time. So now you're just like, dinner's not necessary now. I'm not feeding my kids at the dinner table. They can get their own food, or they're expected to eat in front of the TV, and that's what we all do in our family because we're avoiding confrontation. Because confrontation when I was a kid was not fun. That's what's going through your subconscious, and so you're protecting yourself. So the day you were a child and you wanted to flee from that dinner table, and again, we're talking flee, confront, you couldn't confront it, because when you did, bad things happen. You probably tried, right? You were like, Mom and Dad, why do you always have to fight? And then you got hit, or you got the belt. You had to go to your room and sit on the bed and wait for a terrible beating. So these methods, avoid as an adult, is kind of a way to just simmer down now and get away from a situation that could easily go bad because your memories are so there. So avoid becomes a very, very common adult method because you don't have these higher levels to deal with. You just take the easier way. You don't have to succumb anymore. You're not the kid that has to sit at the dinner table and like your food can't digest and you can barely chew it because your parents are screaming about, something that, you know, is painful for you. And so a void becomes a big adult hatch, you could say. I think of a hatch like an escape hatch, where it's like, those cartoons, it's like press the button, you go down, but you're still going down to the underworld, right? Because you're not confronting, you don't have to flee anymore. If you have to flee as an adult, it's sort of like avoiding. Your wife's going to talk about how you play video games all the time and hang out in the basement. And so you flee, you go to the bars, you go to the garage, you go to your office and overwork. Those are examples of a void turning into flee. You're leaving the house even, right? So it feels like a solution, but it never confronts the actual issue. Now, if you get into your body and you say, okay, I'm ready to confront these things that are going on in me, the anger and the fear, and these are cover-up emotions, because down at the very bottom of those that emotional pit, when you're stirring the compost, I don't know if you've ever stirred compost, but it's the bottom of it, it's the heat that's created. That's where the good stuff sat, and that's what will create the better garden. That's what you can, sprinkle on your plants, and they're going to grow better. The tough stuff on the top it's just covering up all this other stuff. So, but it doesn't look that pretty, right? It's kind of this like black material that's, so it's like something kind of just, it's like, let's just throw some more shit on the compost pile. Well, there comes the day when that doesn't work anymore. It's like, okay, we've been through the divorce or a couple of divorces. I'm seeing this pattern in myself, or I'm not even seeing this pattern in myself, but I want a better life. And that's why you're sitting here listening to this and you think, okay, how can I confront this? Lulu says to confront this. What the hell is she talking about? Because if you're an assertive person, that's all you've been doing is confronting it. And you're the evil jackass that confronts everybody and everything, and it's all them, not you. So what I'm talking about is confronting your emotions. So either side, whether you're an assertive type, and that's another video, by the way, which type you are. Are you assertive? Are you, more of a people pleaser and an accommodator? Or are you in the middle? Are you the cold type? And how is that affecting you? Can you move between those? And are you fluid? If you're fluid in those processes, you're going to be a lot happier of a person. If you're stuck in one thing, so you're always asserting yourself onto others, and people are gonna, it's gonna be harder to keep, safer relationships with people where they feel safe in your presence, because you're constantly after them, and it's not always about them, it's about you. So confronting your emotions, like if you're constantly dealing with anger, do you need to get better at your communication? What do you need to get better at? Versus someone who never confronts anything, what do they need to get better at? What are their emotions that are hiding that? So on one end, you have the anger people that are, asserting, and that can be just a category. It could be like, well, I assert myself in this one topic, but not this other. Whereas the people-pleasing types and the accommodators, they might be 90% people pleasing, and then they've got one subject, one thing where they assert themselves well, or maybe not well because they're defensive because of something they don't want to look at. So when you start to confront those things, the first thing you want to do is confront the emotion. The emotions are always the key to what really needs to go on. So the avoider, that's what we're on now. So we've talked about confront quite a bit, and flee, and we're on to this discussion about avoid. And it's like the avoider is like avoiding confronting his own emotions. And it's because, like, if I get angry and assert myself, bad things happen. That would be, more the people pleaser type. If I get, um, um, if I get, if I get communicative and ask questions, bad things happen. Dad, why is it taking so long to get to Disneyland? And he turns around and belts you, right? Well, you're not going to ask many questions in life, are you? You're going to be taught not to question things. So you're going to start avoiding questioning things. Now, you could have a very, very nice upbringing with a lovely family, but you're not allowed to question things. And everybody, a friend of mine always said, my mom would always say, pass the peas. Anytime somebody brought up a subject at the dinner table that was uncomfortable, because she didn't want to deal with some kind of confrontation or something that would make anybody look less than peaceful, right? So you couldn't say, do you guys really believe that, we should be getting vaccinated? Whoa, how dare you ask that question? So half of our society is just avoiding that. They're secretly getting online. Should I believe it? Should I not? And they've got all these like angry people. So the anger's coming up, the fear's coming up. Anger, fear, anger, fear, anger, fear. And nobody's actually getting to the deeper, deeper root cause emotion that's behind all those surface emotions like fear and anger. And that's where you find who you are. That's where you find what your hooks are, how others are hooking into you, how society, how politicians are hooking into you. So it's like this, fear of being judged for asking a question, fear of being stupid for asking a question, fear of being, scorned, fear of being not part of a group. That group's going to look like family, school, college, workplace, fear of those not being accepted type fears, right? So those are things that are telling you, giving you messages about things that have shaped you and made you into who you are. And a lot of it even was just TV programs and different things where you're like, you see a movie and you're like, in that movie, you're 12 years old, right? In that movie, that guy started to ask questions and he got shot, and these things kind of log in there to your psyche. Like, okay, don't ask questions about, this subject or that subject. Or you're shunned because you're not intelligent if you are asking questions. So these are big avoidance areas. Now, below avoidance is neglect, and neglect is sad. It's really sad because you're not only affecting yourself and others, you're literally harming yourself and others. And neglect takes it to a lower level. It's like parents who can't afford good food because dad's drinking all the money. They just let their kids kind of become really skinny and don't actually deal with the issue of, money's getting spent on things that shouldn't be spent on, or dad smoking cigarettes all the time, or mom smoking cigarettes all the time. And so, $8 a day is going to cigarette pair. Maybe it's $12 now. That's a lot. But that's a lot of money that could easily buy good meals, right? So you can buy like a 30-40 pound bag of rice at Sam's for $17, right? It's only a couple packs of cigarettes, if that. But the priorities in the household haven't been put into place because nobody wants to confront these deeper issues. So neglect is going on. Bad choices are being made, and that's affecting the children, the kids, the community. If you're a teacher, even, it's like the teacher might want to not open their eyes and just face the fact that this textbook sucks and that the kids aren't learning shit from it. And she needs to go to the principal and say, hey, is there any, or other material that we can study from? What is it okay? How can I get around this? Because the kids aren't listening. They don't like learning this material. Can we take one of the subjects out of the book and maybe, watch some history channel on the subject or something and learn that way, because they're not getting it and I feel like I'm wasting my time. Well, that teacher maybe won't do that, and they'll just keep doing this cruel thing to the children. The children hate the class. She's having a power struggle now with the children, and then she starts to get resentful to them because she's not getting the respect because they're unhappy in her class. And there's anger coming out of her now, and she's getting kind of like bitter about her job. She's going home, taking it out on her own kids and her husband. And all this thing could just be confronted by that one issue that could just radically change her life. The principal may be like, good idea, thank you for mentioning it. You know what? Or the principal might say, you know what, if you teach anything else, you're fired. And she might go, good riddance, I'm out of here. I'm going to go to a private school and teach what I need to teach. And this is an example, though, of neglect. So all those children are suffering. Her own children are suffering. Her own marriage is suffering because of this one thing where she's just in this grind and she won't confront it. So she sits in class and tries to act like this is what we do and everything is fine in our class today. And you guys should all be happy too because I'm putting on this facade, and so you should put on a facade too. Well, some of those kids will put that facade on for a while, and then the other kids are going to not put a facade on. Some of them are going to go home and say, I hate Mrs. So-and-so, right? So there's repercussions, and the neglect of confronting this issue is affecting the community at large in that person's life. And this goes into big, big, big topics. I mean, you can go, to, these huge places in politics and see how those decisions can affect the whole world or, for sure a whole country. And so neglect is a very, very, very serious flaw and error on the soul. And it affects your soul. So think of your soul. You've got this aura around you, and these holes are created because you're basically dumbing down your own soul condition, and that's affecting your body, your spirit body, and your whole life. And so that's a pretty good example of neglect. Another, the lowest survival condition is succumb, and succumb goes into like these really low states like suicide. Like I give up, and I'm gonna, again, it's like taking the easy way because confronting is so hard. So succumb is like, I'm, I'd rather die than actually have to do exercise. I'd rather die than actually have to, turn my husband in for beating me so that I can be safe. I'd rather, the children neglect is happening too, right? So the children are already damaged, these other things are going on. And now I'm so low, I'm going to succumb and give in to everything. And I'm going to give in to the subject. So it could even just be one subject, right? So you could have the succumb that's in this one spot in your life. Everything else is okay, but you're succumbing to this one thing that's really starts to get bigger and bigger until you see it and you have to deal with it, or you'll die, or somebody else will die, or something really bad will happen that will create an ending and a failure, right? So succumb is like, it's going beyond avoid and lower than neglect, and you've already done that and you just keep going down, right? And down and down. So anyways, that's my take for the 5 survival traits, and you need to look for those in yourself. So when you look for that confrontation, and you know, that's the highest one. Now, keep in mind though, are you confronting? You have to confront your emotions and yourself first. So confront your fear. So if you're an assertive type, you need to go, why am I angry at this? Is this person really stepping on my boundaries, or do I need to grow up? Okay, and I'm going to go, that's another video, so look for that. It's called um, anger, anger and resentment, you know, grow up or master your boundaries. Okay, something like that. So when you confront, you all go down to flee. So I'm just going over those because you can look at them in your life. So flee. Am I fleeing? Am I escaping because I can't confront? The universe is getting a message. So even if you know you're breaking up with your boyfriend and it's useless to confront things, maybe there's a practice element where you need to learn to ask for something that you need. And even though you know he won't do it, maybe you need to just ask so that you've given yourself permission. The universe hears that permission. It'll bring you another person, and that's like, hey, you know, tell me what you want, baby. You know, tell me what you need. I'll give you that. But, you know, so flee, avoid, and neglect, and succumb, and look for that every day in all sorts of places in your life, and you will be shocked at what you find out and how much you can begin to change just with that. All right, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed that.